Welcome to the Chelsea FanCast, fueled by Guinness, powered by celery. I am Stamford Chidge, of course, and I'm feeling a bit pumped up. It's Friday night, which means there's football. Oh no, it's on Monday night. Oh well, never mind. I'll just have to do something else this weekend, and I am joined in reverse order. Oh no, he's back. Bob Fleming himself. Jonathan's been having a coughing fit.
I think I'm allergic to the show, Chidge.
Maybe. Drivel and pointless analysis.
Yes, as we've established
for the games
in the email we received yesterday on in Off the Post, drivel and pointless analysis. That's what we're up to. Yeah. We've got a lovely guest today, Chidge.
We have our favourite.
We have the goalkeeper's friend, the housewife's choice. Regardless of how loudly I make this, doesn't matter.
See, if we were to be professional about this, I would do a little bit of audio and play it in, but then I would be sued for copyright. Whereas now I can say, if you want to come after us for copyright, Jonathan Kydd, sue him, not me.
Before he chokes to death.
Before he chokes to death.
Oh dear! Hello, friends.
Hello, mate. Everybody. Lovely to see you. Lovely
to see you too. And
are you well?
JK, hoping that he can survive the evening.
Are you well?
The evening. Am I well? Yes, I am. Thank you very much indeed. On my screen is in tribute to the late great Peter Bonetti, who died on this day a couple of years ago. So I shall raise a glass to him.
Yeah, fair enough. To Pete, the lovely Peter Bonetti, the cat. Well done, mate. Your hero, of course.
My hero, my footballing hero.
Absolutely.
Surely a glass of spring water, because he always used to spring so high into the air.
Good. It's also what you need, I think.
Or cat's piss.
Indeed, the alternative. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yes.
Also known as Camden Hells. Anyway, we got a packed show tonight. We have no opposition view, I'm afraid, because as always, I left it too late to get our preferred guests. So I'm apologising for that. But we will, of course, in part one, this very part here, be having all the lowdown from the press conference today from JK and his press summary. And, of course, part two, we will be previewing Chelsea versus Everton. But before all of that, before we get into the drivel and pointless analysis before the game, I have to tell you of something even more pointless, which is three things. First of all is Mixlr. I don't know why bother going Mixlr. I mean, you can watch the show live. Well done, thank you. On our YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listening to it live every Monday and Friday, or whenever else we do them at about 7:30 p.m. Now, obviously, I don't need. It's just at Chelsea FanCast for Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, Mixlr is Chelsea-fancast.mixlr.com. The beautiful thing about all of these things is obviously you can listen or watch us live, and of course you can join the chat room. Yep, you can join in the chat room, as so many do, and it's a very jolly place. You can follow us on all the socials at Chelsea Fancast, and of course, we always upload this very soon afterwards as a podcast on Acast, Spotify, Apple, and all good podcast platforms. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review at the very least. If you could leave 10, leave 10, but I think it only goes up to 5. Now, you heard me mentioning about the Mixlr, YouTube, and Facebook chat kind of function. Well, we also do a thing called Patreon, which is basically a way of grifting from you lot and your hard-earned money, bunging us a few quid every month to say thank you, we like what you do. I honestly, if you do, I love you. If you don't, I still love you. It's a win-win. You can't lose. But if you do want to do it, it's patreon.com/Chelsea Fancast. And if you do, you will be entitled to a Kerry Dixon banner. Which I will send to you in the post. Little mini one, not the same size as the one at the Matthew Harding. But the other thing, the real point about this is you get to join our Discord group, which, as I said, is like the chat room, but 24/7, and jolly fine people in there too. And I'm beginning to loathe X so much at the moment that I'm just thinking of saying bollocks to it and just basically tuning into our Discord group, because I kind of like everybody in there and they have interesting things to say. Whereas for some reason, the way the algorithms on it work now, but because of that stupid prick from South Africa, basically I just get banal pillocks in my timeline that do exactly what Musk wants, which is to get you frothing at the mouth. and I can't be doing with it. So there you go. Right, last thing. This should get you all frothing at the mouth for the right reasons. Here we go. Yes, a picture of me. No. That's not. Although, actually, having said that, that picture of me did get all the right people on X boiling piss. So it was worth it just for that. But no, these are our "If They Sell Connor, We Riot" T-shirts, which are just a complete and utter thing of beauty. I love them. You can also get these, which are "If They Sell Connor, We Riot" mugs, which are also lovely and beautiful. Anyway, if you want to get one, very, very simple. First thing you do, email thechelseaspecial@gmail.com. What we need to know is what you want. We want to know your size, or if it's a mug, we want to know the color, if it's a blue one or a white one. And then we need your address so we can send them to you. And then you need to pay the chelseaspecial@gmail.com PayPal account. 25 quid for a t-shirt, including postage and packaging in the UK, 28 quid if it's Europe, 30 quid North America. Yes, I'm working on the prices to the rest of the world, and we will keep you updated. If you want a mug, 15 quid, 18 quid, 20 quid. UK, Europe, North America. So there you go. I hope that's clear. If it's not clear, don't worry. You can have a look there. There you go. Chelsea Fancast merch. chelseafancast.com/category/merchandise, or just go to chelseafancast.com and look for merch. It's pretty easy to find. And as I said, email your orders to the Chelsea Special @gmail.com. Right. I think it's time we came up with some pointless, drivel and pointless analysis of games before and after matches. So this will be before, and it'll be after this. Yes, indeed. Now, it's part one of the Friday night preview show, and therefore it's time for, well, I wouldn't quite call it breaking news. Breaking Bad would probably be a good idea if somebody hadn't already nicked it. But I think it's probably time for JK and a bit of this. Okay, Clayton hasn't seen that before. Put a smile on his face.
I've not seen that before, and it is very, very funny.
Is it supposed to be funny?
Absolutely not.
No.
Well, I think it is. I like it. It's like a bit, news round, kids and all that. La la la. Yeah. Jumpers for goalposts. JK, you watch the pressers, so we don't have to.
Apparently, I've got a background as well, haven't I? Ought to put up.
Yeah. Where's your press conference background? I told you it was on WhatsApp. Don't spend half an hour finding it now.
No, I've got it. I'm just trying to upload it. It's not interested.
It's all right. We're just doing a live show here, folks. Don't mind us. Don't mind us.
But
it's drivel and pointless analysis anyway.
We're at the coalface here. We're right there. We're at the seam. This is happening absolutely live as it is. I'm just pressing the little plus on my virtual backgrounds, and it should be coming up. But what I've got to do with it is I've got to put it into.
Do you know what? He's missed his vocation, Clayton. Do you know what he should? Maybe there's still time for him to do this. He could be on one of those 24-hour shopping channels where they're on their own and they have to explain what they're doing and talk drivel and pointless analysis 24 hours.
Yeah.
JK, I know people in that industry. I could put in a few good words for you if you want.
I hate to break this to you, JK, but I don't think that you can actually change your background once
in show. Yeah, exactly.
In show, I think you have to do it beforehand.
Give it up. Let's just. I want to. Oh. Well, that told us, didn't it?
Talking bollocks.
Turn it on and off again. Where is it? I want to see the pic, mate. Come on.
Ah, God. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah. Virtual background. I've got to go in there, and I've then got to go into Logic and get it. E3 537.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? I think we may have to do it later, unfortunately.
Okay, why don't you do it in the break?
Oh, here it is. Here it is.
He's got it.
Here it is. Here it is.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
Yeah!
It's there. Right. So I'm going to do this again, and then you can come straight into it. Okay. Remember, folks,
I'd love it.
Life is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
It's time for JK's press summary. He watches the pressers, so we don't have to. Isn't that right, JK?
This was a very interesting start to this one because I went to the official Chelsea version, and he was already there sitting down, and he said they were training this week. Let's hope they can have a very good game on Monday. Now, I have no idea what that was about. Was he talking about the injuries? Because no other part of the presser were injuries mentioned other than Ugochukwu. So I presume that everybody that as mentioned before is ready to play on Monday, because there was no mention from any of the journos about team selection or anything, as you'd expect, because they just
really. I'm so colour me shocked.
Yeah, colour me shocked too. Yeah, is Clayton shocked? Are you shocked, Clayton, that nobody's mentioned injuries or who might be playing on Monday, or even the variety of people that could be selected? No, because that doesn't seem to be interesting. Anything that they're particularly interested in. The lemons is all I can say about it.
Sorry, was I supposed to answer that?
No, it was rhetorical.
I was just checking. Carry on.
Carry on.
The highlights of this, just to talk vaguely about what came across to me in this press conference, is that, first of all, the journos asked questions of him that he never, ever answers. And yet they always ask the same questions about tactics, about players, if he has any knowledge of anybody, are they going to be ready to play, and also aspects of whether who they will buy in the summer. And of course, he always refuses to have anything to do with those questions. So you would think they would, by now, as we're 3/4 of the way through the season, stop asking them. But no, they still asked them. But anyway, he also didn't pay attention, and you can tell when Poch doesn't pay attention because his eyes wander off from the question. He's avid at the beginning, looking at the person, and when he doesn't really want to have anything to do with it, his body language is absolutely obvious, and he then just goes off onto a kind of series of non sequiturs, which he's very capable of doing. And even on one occasion, we'll get to it, actually answers a question that he's already answered, ignoring the question that he's been asked, which was quite a feat, actually, quite a feat. And also there were a couple of anomalies.
Can you blame him?
No, on the end you can't. But anyway, he said he was asked, it was difficult after the game the other day at and was it all a bit hot-headed? And he said after the game, well, obviously when we drew, when we threw defeat, we threw a draw into the way of victory. We are winners, he said. History of Chelsea is winners. Sometimes it's not easy to face you, whatever the fuck that meant. You need to be calm, to be positive. He used the word positive in this press conference far too often. Think positive, be positive, and then following that up with, finally, after he said 3 positives, think in a positive way. Well.
Do you think he's had his arse kicked for being a bit crabby after the Sheffield United match?
I wonder if he's had his arse kicked for mentioning the transfers.
Yeah.
Because he tries to cover it up later on, that very same thing, and refers it to the academy. So I think you may be right, because
I don't know whether I've said this before, so forgive me if I have. But this lot are incredibly sensitive to criticism, incredibly thin-skinned.
Yeah.
They're like I don't know, I can't even think of something to compare them to, but they don't like negativity or criticism at all. They're very sensitive to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if a word in his shell had been offered.
Well, later on, he does a kind of segue where he mentions it twice. In fact, it's obviously in his head about the academy. And but anyway, he was asked about
the best in the world, apparently.
But was he asking whether we had an academy?
He was referring to them. He actually says, which we'll get round to it, he says they have youths playing with them every day from the academy. They have the privilege of playing with the first team in every training session.
I know that we shouldn't. I shouldn't interrupt your flow.
No, you're allowed. I'm only.
I find it quite incredible that somebody who actually goes and watches the kids play around the corner from where I live and have seen, a lot of them play. He never actually puts any of those on the bench. The ones that I consider to be actually quite decent, I don't see the light of day. I mean, Castledean is a fabulous little player. I think he basically has been on the bench. He came on for about 2 minutes when we were 6-0 up against Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
And the guy whose name I can't remember, who basically has also came on in that game and another game, I've never heard of. I've never actually seen him play. So I think there's a lot of lip service in what he does as far as the youth's concerned. I think he sticks a couple of them on there with no intention whatsoever to play them. So I'm a bit curious about that. Anyway, carry on.
No, it's good. This was something I hope we would debate. So you've leapt straight in, but it's my fault for mentioning it early, but we'll get there. He was asked about offside technology. The new offside technology that apparently is going to be taking
semi-automated offsides.
Semi-automated, but weirdly not at the beginning of the season, a bit later on, which similarly.
So I thought it was going to be for next season.
No, apparently it's going to be later on.
What the fuck?
I read. I know it's doing my head in what that is.
Are they going to use it at the Euros? Do we know?
Well, they've already used it, haven't they, in the World Cup?
Oh, they used it in the World Cup, yeah, and it seemed to do pretty well. Yeah, it takes the stress off the linesman as well.
Takes the dickheads out of the equation.
Yeah, well, to actually then be able to put his flag up for people kicking each other in front of them, which they miss frequently. A bloke the other day in my game flagged madly, and everybody around me went, "Oh my God, what's he flagging for? We don't normally see them flag." I said, "Well, there was a foul straight in front of him. That was why. Normally they ignore them because they're so worried about whether it's offside or not. So they're not actually looking at anything else on the pitch, even though they're supposed to be helping the ref to do that kind of thing." So anyway, he said, "I am happy." He said, "We will see if it will work. Very happy." And then he used that word of the day, positive, he said. Oh, good. Gallagher, somebody then put forward the question, why was Gallagher played left winger for a period during the game against Sheffield United, which he was. In fact, he was right winger as well, and a centre forward. I remember mentioning that. And he didn't answer. He said, circumstances and form, the balance. Balance, he said, which doesn't answer the question at all. Because basically what was being asked was, why did he end up there in the game when he isn't a left winger, when apparently we have a left winger playing, but it didn't matter. So I thought, well, that's good. But he smiled, so everybody felt happy. Now, this is the question that refers to the academy. The under-17s won yesterday. What did they win, Chidge? Do we know? Did they win the...
They won a cup.
They won a cup, yeah.
No.
Under-17s won. How do we give these youngsters opportunities? Get them to start, for example. Are they close to the start? Any of them close to the start? He said, they are close. We're working very close with the academy. Every week, we invite young players to play with us. One of the best academies in the world, in England, if not the world. We need to care about these guys. Training with us is a very good experience for them to compete with a senior player.
Lip service.
Entirely.
That's all that is. That's absolute lip service. I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah,
I really don't. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to look for the guy whose name I wanted to find. I'll find it. But I find it just really disheartening. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm naive enough to think that these guys can make any difference, but we're sort of very close to that point in the season where nothing really matters, and so these kids need to be used.
Bloody,
yeah. I mean, the guy whose name it was Jimmy Turanine, who I think is Finnish, and
he came on in one of the games. Yeah,
brilliant. That is one of the funniest things ever on the radio.
It is. It is absolutely, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
So there are some fantastic players. I mentioned Castledean. He's very good. There's a guy called Tyreek George, who's also fabulous. Donald McNeely can't stop scoring, so obviously he'll get nowhere near our bench. Dujan Richards is somebody who we bought in, who is, I think he's Jamaican international. And he's just, merging in. But none of these guys.
Achampong as well as another one, isn't there?
Achampong is a defender, and he has been on the bench a couple of times.
Yeah, he hasn't got
Billy
on.
G, very good. Not been on the bench as far as I know. Obviously, Alfie Gilchrist has. So, look, I'm not a manager. They see these guys every day, but all I know is I've seen these guys, youth players, and a couple of the people that he's put on the bench are not people that have stood out. So that's why I'm saying I perceive that a lot of it is lip service. And if he's bigging up the academy, maybe he's basically been told to big up the academy because that's where we're going to get a lot of our transfer money in the summer. I got no idea. But, if you're bigging it up, back it up.
I mean, I think they should give this boy, what's his name, the one who scored all the goals. What's his name? McNeil. What's he called?
Donald McNeely.
Yeah. Who scored 23? I think he scored 20.
He scored quite a few goals. I don't know how many.
They should give him a go. He should come on, shouldn't he?
Well, they've got the kid Washington.
Yeah, they don't play. He doesn't play him either, ever.
He don't get. Even when we're losing, even when we basically desperately need a goal, he sits on the bench.
Yeah. Well, I think an example of that as well is Cassidy, who just comes on in with a minute to go. Why did they get him back from Leicester, where he was playing?
Absolutely insane. It reminds me of the Ake situation with Conte when Conte brought him back and then never played him. And as we now know, he's no good, is he, Ake?
No. Anyway, he was asked one of the usual questions was how was Ugo Chukwo's hamstring? Because we haven't seen him, have we? And
no.
Guess what he replied?
He's currently undergoing his rehabilitation.
Exactly, Chidge. And he doesn't know anything about it because he lets them get on with it. Yeah. So he was then asked, what do you think about, similarly, another question, you just knew the answer. Everton have been docked points. What do you think about that? He said, I don't have the information. It's difficult for me to have an opinion, not focusing or listening. Okay, well, I think that's par for the course with you because you tend never to have a political opinion about anything in football. He just says he doesn't know enough and it's nothing to do with him anyway. He was asked a question. The lack of maturity of the squad was mentioned. Would you adapt that this summer? Promising players only is the policy of the club. Would you adapt that this summer to get more experienced players? Now, at that moment, Poch looked away and started fiddling with his eye. So you knew exactly what he was going to come up with, which was a load of bollocks in response. And he, of course, said something to discuss in the next few weeks to see different expectations of the next season. I have to discuss this with the sporting director and owners, which I think actually gives exactly the example of exactly what you said, Chidge. He's had a flea in his ear because during the week he said we're going to be buying new players because the profile of the
he was basically saying most of them are shit and I need new players.
Yeah, that's what he said. He kept talking about the profile during the week that some of them.
You like that, don't you? You're not quite the right profile for me.
Yeah, it's exactly. You
said that to me last night.
I did because you called me
very upset.
You called me a wanker the other night, so I
only in jest.
We're
not going to relitigate that one.
Okay. Clayton should know.
Duffer.
Duffy. I listened and chuckled.
Good on you.
Yes. Now, Nonny, could he score 15 to 20 goals for Chelsea on a regular basis? He's asked this question. And his response was all about he wouldn't be playing very often because he'd already got a right winger who was called Palmer. And he said, it's difficult when you buy two players for the same position. So I think it's slightly unlikely. But then he decided that perhaps that wasn't the answer to give. So he said, yes, he could. He could probably do that. But he went back to, you've got to find the right balance, which was another word he kept using in the team. Palmer doing very well. You can't play with two players in the same position. But yes, Nonny has the talent. Didn't answer that one. looking into the summer, why have you had so many recurring injuries? Now, he got completely the wrong end of the stick here. And he said, should be fair to prove we are a good squad. At the moment, it's not fair to judge players. It's really tough when you don't have the squad. Then fit. They need to be fit to increase the competition between them. But it's an excuse, and I don't want to talk about excuses. We need.
I want to be positive.
We need to be positive. Yes.
No way, he said it.
So he seemed to conflate the question, and then he started talking about we need to see if these guys have the opportunity to step up. He went back to talking about the youth. So
no, not necessarily. Well, yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, he didn't want to answer that question, so he just flitted in out. Do you approach differently teams fighting against relegation? When we face City, Spurs, etc., always the teams show good quality. When we play lower teams, we've got a lack of maturity. With time, we will get the right balance and compete. Balance again, you see. Asked a question, 2 goals in the last 7 games. We score the same as concede. We create chances, create risk. We need balance. Always when the team is not mature enough. So that was really, that was it. Balance again. How frustrating the question is it? You can't keep clean sheets. How do you turn that around to qualify for Europe? For me, the most important is to win games. Okay.
No shit, Sherlock.
He's not really worried about the clean sheets. To keep clean sheets, we'd have to play 10 and be more defensive. He meant behind the ball. Chelsea, Chelsea needs to create, in my opinion, chances and score goals. We've got players in the squad who can attack, who can be very receiving in the last third, but we need to behave in the same way when we don't have the ball. But they are missing. We talk about being more competitive and mature in the 2 phases in the same way. Basically, he's not happy they're not competing. When we don't have the ball, more hostility, consistency, togetherness. Sometimes we are messy. We react too late and we lose the ball. We are working this week on this. Hopefully, little by little, we will get the balance between the 2 phases. And then Simon Johnson asked, would you ever change who you are and park the bus? He didn't understand what that expression was.
I am not a bus driver.
I had to have it translated for him. And he went, when he heard whatever it was, in the background, and he went,
was he not manager of Spurs the day that phrase
Mourinho said that?
Invented.
Yeah. Indeed. So what on earth? So he went, no, we are coaching staff, 14 years together. Impossible for us to, as you say, park the bus. And then Simon Johnson said that was Mourinho's expression. And he then thought, I mustn't be rude about Mourinho. So he says, everyone is like how he is. All systems and philosophies are good, he said. And that was the end of it. But I absolutely agree with you, Clayton. Well, surely he knew about this because that's exactly what Mourinho accused his Spurs team of doing. And West Ham. That was his phrase. So
do you get the impression? Do you know what? This whole presser seems like a hostage situation. It's out of shot. The terrorists who have captured him have got AK-47s pointed at his gonads. Do you know what I mean?
They've already snipped his cock off and it's in a fridge.
I'm expecting the next presser to be holding up a copy of today's newspaper,
Yeah.
Proof of life.
Yeah. Or they've given him a script to say. He just avoided most of the stuff that he was asked.
Do you know what? I don't blame him, mate. It's they ask a bunch of completely ridiculously stupid.
But clearly he actually said you say a lot of things under pressure at the end of games. He said that early on, and I think
fair. That's fair enough. I'll give him that. I do.
But I think the point being that what he said was on after the Sheffield United game was that the players didn't have the right. Some of them didn't have the right profile, and they would be considering buying new ones in the summer. Now he's just now said no. I've got to discuss everything with the sporting directors and the owners when asked about it. Yeah. So he backtracked completely. But he did this before. He did this before earlier in the season.
I mean, maybe we should give him some credit for being really very clever because, ultimately, you in this game, when it's in the public gaze, you can't you can't unsay things. Once you've said them, you've said them. Sure, he can now backtrack and say, "Oh, I'm very sorry. I was a bit emotional afterwards. I was a bit angry." But the fact is, he said it, and that might be being quite clever. I do. I mean, it's a shame because I think most of us thought, "Oh, okay, well done, Poch. You're pissed off like we are. Maybe it's about time you showed these bloody half-wits that you are a bit pissed off with it. Maybe that's what we need you to do." So on the one hand, I'm a bit upset that he's backtracked and apologised, but on the other hand, I can accept that he might actually be being quite clever.
But I got a hint of the fact that he was actually suggesting, whether this is true or not, Clayton, that there were some members of the academy who might make themselves into first team players in the close season.
Possibly, I don't know, because he's shown no signs of using them, developing them, what have you. I mean, what's happening in training, we don't know. And I'm not surprised because he's under a huge amount of pressure. He's got loads and loads of players. But when he's complaining about the tiredness and the injuries, that's fine. But, why did you bring Caicedo back? Why has he come back?
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't.
Exactly. Well, why did the club bring him back? I mean, I don't actually know. I don't know whether there's any personal agenda against Leicester, which I doubt. But, I mean, it makes very little sense. I mean, obviously, nothing makes very much sense.
But Clayton, for all we know, you've got the Egbali, less so Bowley now because he's kind of like moved aside a bit. But you've got Egbali possibly demanding all sorts of mental on the pitch stuff as far as we know. We don't know, but maybe. You've got the sporting directors who might even be at loggerheads with each other, let alone with everybody else saying what they want. And then you've got Pochettino, who's the guy who's actually got to put these, pick the team, put them on the field, get them to perform and actually get results, possibly thinking something else. It's a fucking camel, mate, potentially.
It is. But I mean, I suspect that what happened was Poch basically said, look, I got Ugachukwu and Lavia are missing. Caicedo and Enzo are blowing out their arse. I need some cover in central midfield. And they thought, okay, we'll bring Caicedo back.
It's sensible, but then why not play him?
Perfect sense. Pochettino saw him in training and thought, no, I don't fancy him.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's possibly what's happened.
Yeah.
But, this is a kid who, I'm not saying pulls up any trees. I'm not saying deserves to be in the first team. But if you don't play him, I mean, it all just basically goes back to Blake, the Martson thing. Yeah. You never play him. So how are you going to know?
Yeah.
And he seems to be, doing very well in Germany. So it's...
I mean, the other thing is we don't know what happens on the training pitch, as we often say.
Yeah.
And managers are always going to have their picks and their choices, aren't they?
Yeah.
But there you go. Listen, boys, I just want to talk about
perhaps Maatsen was deliberately loaned to Germany, but where they knew they would play him in his proper position, with a view to selling him.
Well, maybe.
Whereas he wouldn't have got in the first team.
That sounds very, very feasible.
Yeah, it's plausible, isn't it? Listen, I just want to talk about this before we have a break. There's another bit of news this week. I think Nizar broke this. Well, he didn't break. Well, he kind of wrote about it. Let's just put it that way. Maybe he did break it. But the sale of Stoll, our next door neighbours, has finally been agreed. I think they've sold it to Chelsea for 80 million, which of course frees up a lot of space because they'll knock it all or most of it down, and that will give us more space and of course potential for egress directly into Fulham Broadway Station. So, many people see it as fairly fundamental to redeveloping Stamford Bridge. However, there's an agreement in there that they can't start building on it or doing anything or knocking it down basically until 2027 because they have to have an amount of time to rehouse the locals that are there that are fair enough. And in amongst all of this, the bit of news from last week, really, which is that Jarosik, our beloved CEO, and Gannon, and I think it's Jason Gannon, he was involved with stadium builds in the States. The SoFi Stadium, I think rings a bell. So he kind of knows what he's talking about. But on the other side of the coin, they've got rid of Jane Smith, whatever her name was, who did the Dodgers Stadium and was seen as the chief architect and was advising on what we may or may not do, is off the project. And who else? And Goldstein, Jonathan Goldstein, who of course is a property developer and knows a fair bit about property. So it's kind of an interesting sea change. I mean, maybe they're just bringing it all in house. I don't know what Jarasek's expertise is in anything, actually, let alone building new stadiums. Gannon is quite proficient, from what I understand. And they're kind of saying, well, we're looking at. I mean, if they can't do any building until 2027, I can't see how the stated 2030 finish of any redevelopment is possible in any way, shape, or form. So it's possible. I mean, it could take. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I'm not an architect either, but it just seems rather fanciful to me that we'll get a new stadium this side of 2030. What do you think, JK?
I noticed there was an effort by somebody which was put on X during the week, which somebody had said planted as being similar to the Tottenham, to the Emirates Stadium, and no, the Emirates is Arsenal, isn't it? Sorry, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it took no account of any of the right to light or any of the experiences or knowledge that we have via the last what do you call it, attempt to build the stadium through Roman. I think that it's other than the purchase of Stoll, I think it's the last thing on their minds. Actually, I don't get the impression that has that rebuilding the stadium has a great deal of significance for them at the moment. I'm afraid. I think they need to get it right on the pitch and then cock it up again by moving away or something, going to Wembley. But at the moment, I don't know where. What could they spend? They'd have to just. I mean, they are pocketless, aren't they? But I'm not convinced it's a priority.
You may well be right. What do you think, Clayton?
Yeah, I think JK's got a very fair point there. I think that one of the most interesting things is the fact that Blueco bought it and not Chelsea.
Well, aren't Blueco Chelsea?
They're the parent company of Chelsea.
The holding company.
Yeah. No, the parent company, which means they own Chelsea. Right. So I think that I don't think that you can't not start building until 2027, because I think that part, as you say, would be an access. And if you knock the place down next year or the year after, you've still got sufficient access to do what you're doing. And that could be subject to the planning and subject to what services need to go through where Stoll is now. That could be the last part of the development. So I wouldn't necessarily say that nothing could happen till 2027. I think the way the club's run at the moment, as JK says, this should be the last thing on their mind. And I know as fans that we want some sort of comfort as to what's happening, or some sort of plan as to what's happening. But I do actually think that they've got so many other things to do before they start concentrating on this.
But they've only potentially got 10 years before they want to get out.
Well, I don't know whether they definitely, whether they would want to get out, because the thing is, if they turn it around on the pitch, they start making money, and then they think about putting a super duper stadium up, they won't want to go anywhere. No. So it's really, this is why everything that's happening at the moment and everything that's happened over the 2 years is so baffling.
Yeah.
Because the only way they can make money out of this football club is by this football club being successful. And what they've done is the complete opposite. So that's why it's just...
It is baffling.
It's
stupid.
I don't think it's baffling at all.
No, I just think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think they came in, thought they knew what was best, and they quite patently don't know what's best.
Yeah.
Spunked a lot of money on a lot of average players. have left the club in a very, very strange position, very vulnerable position. And for somebody or a bunch of businessmen who basically are successful, what they've done here is insane.
Indeed. Well, it's a very good time, therefore, to get your grubby little mitts on one of these. Indeed, a Chelsea pitch owner's share. Why? Well, because we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to go on. But if you have a CPO share, it means you have a share of the freehold of the stadium. And I mean, all that really means, I mean, you own a little bit of Chelsea, I suppose, which is nice. But it also gives you a voice. It gives you a say in what happens to the future, whether it's redeveloped, whether it's relocated, whether they temporarily relocate it, whatever. You have a say because you own the freehold or a share of it. So it's a very important vehicle and mechanism. Good old Ken Bates did it in the early 90s when we were surrounded by vulture-like property developers who were trying to nick the ground and sell it to build posh flats. So Batesy set this up so that could forever be prevented. So technically it's a device to make sure that we always play football here or have a serious input into what happens if we don't, you know. So it's not cast in stone that we will. Anyway, if you want one, it's 110 quid for an electronic share or about 175 quid for a share like that one, which is signed by, well, that one's signed by Frank Lampard, but it'll be signed by one of the current players, I suspect, if you buy one now. Just go to chelseafc.com and search for Chelsea pitch owners, and you'll find all the information about how to go and purchase one of these shares. I commend it to you. Now, the other thing I would commend to you, of course, is this, the best fanzine in the world. Isn't that right, Clayton?
Absolutely, but we're slightly biased, aren't we?
Well, we are, apart from the fact that I missed the deadline. And do you know why I missed the deadline?
Because you always do it at 5 past midnight on the deadline.
Yeah, well, and of course I read in our WhatsApp group, the CFC UK WhatsApp group, I saw a message to you when you said, "Oh, is it the weekend, DJ?" And he said yes. So therefore, I quite rightly presumed it meant 5 past 12 on 5 past midnight on Sunday. Because for me, that is still the weekend. And then I saw DJ at the Sheffield United game. He said, "Chidge, I'm really sorry, mate. I'm really sorry, mate. But I didn't get your article until it was too late." I said, "Mate, I said it was the weekend." He said, "Well, no, it wasn't quite." I said, "Oh, all right then." So I'm not in it this month. My article, which I can't even remember. Oh, it was on what was it on? It was something really topical. Injuries. Yes, the injury blight. I wrote about that at a very topical time, but never mind. I said, use it next time if the situation won't have changed by a month's time. Anyway, look, if you want to get a copy of the fanzine, I mean, basically, not what we normally plug on here is a season's kind of subscription, but we're nearly at the end of the season. Do not panic. If you get your application in for a season subscription now, then you'll all be ready for next season, because I think there'll probably be 1 or 2 issues left this season. So what you do, if you can't go to the stall and get it yourself, or if one of the sellers who are around Fulham Road, is email fanzine@cfcuk.net, and you can get a whole year's subscription for 20 quid in the UK, 45 quid in Europe, and 60 in the rest of the world. And what that will do, it will get one of these beautiful things with writers such as myself, Clayton, Tim Rolls, Mark Worrell, Mark Meehan, Dean Mears, you name it, all arriving through your letterbox every month. Alternatively, if you don't want a hard copy, you can get a digital copy sent to you as a PDF. And that's a lot cheaper, 6 quid for digital or £1 each. And all of this can be paid via PayPal. Right. After this lovely little interlude, we will be back to preview Chelsea versus Everton. We will see you soon.
Real fans, real opinions.
I'm Jason Cundy, and you're listening to Chidge and the boys on the Chelsea Football FanCast. Total nutters and proper Chelsea.
Footballfancast.com.
Welcome back. This is Stamford Chidge, who hasn't taken off the CFC UK pick because he's a dick. There you go. But back with us normally. I'm just a useless studio director, really. Actually, I was a useless studio director when I was a studio director. But at least when I was a studio director back in those days, I had little monkeys to kind of press the buttons for me and do all of that. I obviously find it quite hard to do the manual labour in this. But anyway, I am Stamford Chidge. This is the Chelsea Fancast Friday night preview show, and I am joined by the delicious Jonathan Kydd.
I think we should be called the Dapper Jonathan Kydd, but it all should be Drivel and Pointless Analysis Jonathan Kydd, as in DAPA, the Dapper.
Dua Lipa, maybe.
You think so? Oh, thank you very much.
No. I quite fancy her. You, not so much. Sorry, it's truth.
I thought you liked facial hair.
Not on a woman.
Oh, God.
Take two. None of that happened. We didn't really say that, everybody.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's true. I don't. Anyway, we've got a lovely guest, haven't we, JK? One of our favourites.
It's the Housewife's Choice himself, Clayton Beerman. All things goalkeeping, all things Housewife's Choice.
All things Housewives.
How are you, mate? Lovely to see you.
I'm very good. My life would be perfect if I didn't have to watch football.
Didn't support Chelsea, yeah. I know.
Actually, I say if I didn't have to watch football, that's not fair because I watched the Manchester City Real Madrid game during the week, which was spectacularly good.
I chose to watch the other one in the vain hope that Bayern Munich would beat the arse, which they were doing for a while. I was really enjoying that.
Yeah.
I was saying to Chidge last night how unhappy I was that we were just watching all these games. With 2 seasons ago, we were in the quarterfinals watching all these players playing, and they were kind of like the kind of players we played against. And I was watching Barcelona and thinking, well, we almost bought Koundé, and he's playing for them. We almost bought Rafinha, and we almost bought De Jong. And they've got Christensen, of course, and he scored for them. And Real Madrid have got Rudiger, and Arsenal have now got Havertz and Jorginho. I've got an Arsenal friend saying they're playing marvellously. So all of these players who graced, as in Kovacic for Man City, played the whole game, who graced our team 2 seasons ago and couldn't be asked in that season, let's be frank, that Potter was there, are now playing exactly at the same level that we're used to watching. And I got sad.
We had about 12 or 13 players involved in the four quarterfinals.
And even Zappacosta played well for Atalanta against Liverpool. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but you know the point is, and I sort of was thinking about this, you know, a lot of those players, the majority of fans wanted out the club, so you can't now look at them and I mean, I anybody who's listened knew that I didn't want to sell Havertz. I mean, I think we got a good deal for him. I am amused by all the comments, and there was something last weekend where they said, Arsenal really turned Havertz round. Well, I watched the Arsenal-Brighton game and Havertz looked exactly the same as he did when he played for us. I mean, I don't think they've turned him anywhere. I think, you know, he is what he is and that sort of player. But, you know, you look at loads of those things. I mean, Kovacic is a really good player, but he gave up. He couldn't be asked last season.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
You know,
also, the other aspect,
Jorginho's a great player, but Jorginho needs to play in a good side.
A good side, absolutely. But Christensen and Rudiger were two that
Rudiger's fantastic.
Up,
Rudiger's a great player, and I think that he would have stayed had the sanctions not happened, because they said he was really close to signing, which they might have just said to appease us. I don't know, but.
I think there's truth to that.
I say the majority of those players we wanted out of the club, so
or they wanted out. I mean, Christensen's dad wanted him out. So
I mean, Christensen they'd agree to deal with, but I mean, everybody, you know, like loads of Chelsea fans hated Christensen. They said, "Oh, what a pussy he was! He was always injured, and you know, every time he basically it was a big game, he had a migraine or this, that, and the other." So there wasn't a huge amount of love for him, and. You know, to be fair, he was substitute. He came on in the 75th minute. So it's not like he was starting. The Koundé thing, I think, is very interesting. The fact that, you know, I think Tuchel wanted Koundé and the club didn't. And so the club knows best, as we have seen. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, football's cyclical. I mean, what we've done, we've discussed, is a mess. So I mean, obviously we'd love to be in there, but for years we were. So we're taking time out and hopefully we'll get back.
Revisionism is a terrible thing. But fortunately,
Oh,
my
oh,
team
oh,
selection is
oh.
a beautiful thing. It's
Oh,
a
I love this.
beautiful
I
thing.
love this part of the show. I love this.
JK's getting moist just at the thought
Oh.
of this. Exactly. Right. Okay. Here we go, boys. This is what I reckon tomorrow. Now, we didn't get much injury news from either Poch or JK from the presser, but I'm led to believe that Chilwell, a lot of players are 50-50. Chilwell, maybe 75%, probably be on the bench. But Dizazi is an injury doubt. Badiashile is a football doubt. I think Enzo's an injury doubt. Sterling's an injury doubt. That's for sure. So I've kind of gone with the view that none of the guys that are a doubt will play. I mean, they may well be fine by Monday, in which case my team's going to look a bit stupid. But there you go. Anyway, I have gone for Cucurella as the left. I've gone for 4. I've gone for 4-2, 3-1, I suppose, haven't I? Or 4-1-2-1. 4-2-1-2-1, if you like. But anyway, Cucurella, Silva, in the absence of any other central defenders, really. Silva, Petrovic, obviously. Chalobah. I don't mind Chalobah and Silva together. They're probably our 2 best defenders at the club, to be frank. Gusto, we love. He's great. Okay, so no Enzo. So I don't think that Poch will pick Cassidy, and nor would I. I would just move Gallagher back on a double pivot, as it were, and Moises gets a reprieve. Moises, get out of here!
There he is.
Get out of here! Yeah, I mean, in the absence of anybody else, he won't pick Cassidy. So Gallagher and Caicedo for me. And of course, if you move Gallagher back, that allows you basically to play Palmer in the 10, which I kind of like the idea of him being in the 10 role. Although we know he roves around, which is good. But I think it might get him in the game a bit more if you put him there. As opposed to having Mudryk there, although I quite like Mudryk there. But I'm going to put Palmer there, which would mean that you get Mudryk and Madueke as our kind of wingers, inside forwards in old money, but kind of wingers in this system. And why not give Madueke a start? I quite like Noni. He causes people problems, and Mudryk can do as well. His pace frights people, which means poor old Jackson gets to be up front, where we know, and I know, and people yet to be discovered in the Amazon rainforest know that he is a pile of shit. But I'm kind of hoping that they'll all move around in a rather fluid way, and that Palmer will occasionally be in the number 9 position, and Jackson will bugger off kind of wide, and who knows anyway. Apparently, most modern managers just allow them to make it up themselves. So I'm going to do the same, JK.
It's a good team, Chidge.
You like it?
Good. Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
You won't pick it then?
No. I can't think of anything that I could say contrary to that. I think Chalobah carries on playing. I think Silva carries on playing. He won't pick Badiashile. Excuse me.
Bless
pick
you.
Badiashile. Oh, falling apart. Oh God.
Bless you. There'll be another one.
Somebody's opened a door. That's what's happened. I've reached that stage in my life. Somebody opens a door. You know
what you have to say now, don't you?
What do I have to say, Chief?
Shut that door.
Shut that door. Oh, okay, yeah. Shut that door. Everard. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say? Yeah. Is it a fact that Enzo's not playing? Is he?
Well, he's 50-50.
Is he? I didn't grasp that. Have you got that up on your chart there? On your, what do they call it? What do you get there? The information.
No, I was reading, and Rich Moneymakers, he's been rather active tonight on the YouTube chat. Blah blah blah. Was saying it earlier on, and I remembered. Confirm or deny, Rich Moneymakers?
Yes, Rich. Tell us, is Enzo 50-50?
Yeah,
Come on, Rich, waiting for you.
Well, I think we should carry on talking while we're waiting.
We carry on rather than wait for Rich. Yeah, okay. But yes, if that's the case, yeah, I think I really didn't get, as he said in the press conference, I don't understand why he said for balance, why Gallagher ended up playing either wing and then centre forward.
Bollocks, surely.
What was that all about? What the fuck was that? It's pretty obvious that he played Madueke as right wing because he knew Disasi wouldn't ever get forward when he was playing at fullback. And I still don't know whether Gusto was injured or not, because at the press conference he said he was just switching them around. But I think perhaps he was injured.
I think they said he was rested.
Rested, that's right. But what's that? What's that about? Why would you rest one of your best players?
Well, because he's recently been injured and probably he's knackered, and they didn't want to.
Yeah, they said he was 75%.
Risk him because they thought we were playing the worst team in the Premier League and we probably don't need our best first 11.
Of course, that's exactly what it must have been, even though the man that they played at right back, who apparently did very well with Mbappe, didn't he, when he was at Monaco?
Had him in his pocket.
Had him in his pocket, apparently. Still played like a complete arse. But then
going back to Gallagher, mate, the question that should have been asked was, well, if you put Gallagher in as left wing to create balance, why did you fucking unbalance it by taking other people off then, you muppet?
Yeah. Why did you take Mudryk off? Absolutely right. Absolutely, yeah. And Mudryk's been getting a very good press, actually, for his recent performances, but we're still not seeing an all-rounded player there yet. We've got a way to go. I wish he'd sort of step up, really, because he's so quick and has moments of great skill, but once again, moments of great, complete
buffoonery,
Welk-like possibilities.
Buffoonery,
buffoonery and nincompoopness.
Nincompoopness. Can we say nincompoopery?
I like that, nincompooperi. For me, Madueke is the one who's actually the most competent at actually doing something, because bless his cotton socks, he takes players on and gets in the penalty area. And unlike Mudryk, who loses it too often, I think whether Mudryk in an earlier incarnation kicked the ball ahead of it and ran on after it, nobody could get anywhere near him. And unfortunately, everybody is a bit better understanding how to play that kind of player now. Whereas Madueke actually does, I take my hat off to him. He loses it a bit, but he does take players on, which is really advantageous. You just think that I'm watching Real Madrid and the two, what have they got? Rodrigo and Vinicius. Their control is so much more. I think you used to use the word is Poch's word, maturer. I think Madueke is a bit of a, it's all a bit kick, bollock and scramble, whereas there's a kind of precision to both Vinicius and Rodrigo. They take the player on and they send them and they taunt them a bit. Madueke needs to learn how to taunt the opposition a bit. He just gets the ball, tries to run quickly past them, and yet has scored some decent goals. I mean, mind you, the goal the other day against Chev, wasn't that his first goal in the Premier League since November, I think. But I'm beginning to see more of an upward flow, for an upward graph for Madueke than I am for some of the other players. But of course, Palmer is just completely in a different class to everybody else. But as an example, Chidge, you're saying, why play Jackson if you could play the boy? Bring the 17-year-old on, who scored all the goals.
Well,
because he's an out-and-out striker. No, I'm just thinking, give him a go. Why not? It's the kind of thing what happened in the past. You'd give somebody a go. If the person up front isn't doing it and playing dreadfully, a terrible second half against Sheffield United, Jackson. As I said, that is a perfect example of that spinning the opposition on the touchline, running into the penalty area and missing the ball completely when it's just a tap in. You despair, or even give one of the youths give Washington when he's come up. He doesn't look that great, does he?
I don't know. I mean, Jackson's, he's not good enough, but he's not done as badly as I think people will have you believe. But anyway, Clayton, what do you think about my little lineup?
Yes. There, in my opinion, is no way that he will start with Madueke and Mudryk. I just don't think that I just don't think he will.
Do you think he might put Chukwuemeka in the number 10 role and Palmer out on the right?
I'm not sure. I think that there's a good chance that Chukwuemeka may play, for the simple reason that Gallagher and Caicedo are both small, and Everton's midfield is the land of the giants, and they will just knock the shit out of us. And so I do think that there's a possibility that Chukwuemeka may start for that reason. I don't know about, is Sterling fit?
No.
He's not fit.
Well, he's 50-50.
Okay, because I think there would be a good chance that Sterling might start. And I think that even though we're at home, taking into account the opposition, that there's a possibility that we might play with a false nine. I mean, listen, having Jackson on the field or off the field makes no difference as far as I'm concerned. I can't see that he's contributed very much in the last 3-4 games. I think he's been relatively anonymous. I think it's a shame. I think that the injuries have meant that a lot of players who would have been fringe players this season, who would have just come on from the bench, I think that they're getting game time, whereas I don't actually think. I mean, there's no way that Jackson would have played as many games. I just can't see it, and I think one of the things that is a problem at the moment is the fact that these guys are knackered. You know, this sort of core of players are playing all the time, and I know it's their job.
You would have thought they'd get better than with practice.
I listen. I don't really want to go off on what I was very tempted.
You said you were going to have a
I know. But you know, the worst thing is, and I sort of put this on Twitter I think after the Sheffield United game. The worst thing that's happened this season is the fact
massive moaning coming. That's what you said.
No, it's the fact that I don't care. You know, and it's ridiculous. It's horrendous. Obviously, I do care because I'm here. I'm talking about it. I do care because I'll be there on Monday. But I'm untouched by events, by results. The Sheffield United result was like, you know, so what? I mean, even the Manchester United result, we were crap in that game for 70 minutes against.
Were you there? Were you there?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't there against
the reason, sorry to butt in, but the reason I asked that is because if you were there,
I know the atmosphere was amazing.
It would have been a very different feeling.
I understand that entirely, but what I'm trying to say is that what's happened this year, and I know, look, I'm a fan. I know that the difference is that I'm not one of these people who, because we're having a bad season, is moaning. It happens. In 50 plus years that I've followed this club, I would say there's probably, you know, 25% of the time has been success, has been like great seasons, and it's all relative. And people were saying to me on Twitter, you know, well, if you've been supporting that long, it's been a lot worse than this. And of course it has. But there were no expectations in the 70s. You know, the sort of mid to late 70s, early 80s, we were shite. We were absolute rubbish, but we had no expectations. We had no money.
And not much worse players.
Yeah. In the 90s, you know, there were periods where we were just abysmal. But that's not the point. It isn't the fact that we're no good. It's a fact of where we are. And it's not even the amount of money that we've spent, because I've said this on this show before. We shouldn't look at how much we've spent. I mean, Liam's done a very good, Liam Toomey's done a really good thing on The Athletic this week about, you know, the fact that we spent 100 million, but nobody mentions the fact we got 300 million in. Nobody mentions the fact that we've got 150, 200 million pounds worth of talent on the bench, which hasn't, well, not on the bench, but in the treatment room that we haven't even been able to use. My argument is the fact is not what we've spent, it's what we've spent it on. You look at those players that we brought in and you say to yourself, okay, if we would have got these players for 50% of what we paid for them, would we be happy? Well, the answer is no. You know, you look at somebody like Cucurella. Cucurella is a decent fullback. The fact we paid 60 million for him, that's our fault. That's got nothing to do with him. It's got nothing to do with anything. But is he any better than what we've got? Is he better than Chilwell? No, they're both the same. Well, Chilwell, I'd say slightly better. You know, I'm not saying that Alonso is a great fullback, but Alonso was as good. You know, and then you look at Martson, and okay, we don't know. Martson's playing in the German league. I don't know the standard of the German league. I don't watch it, but he's playing. And I just, you know, it's stuff like that. You look at Mudryk, you look at Madueke, and again, ignore what we spent on them. Ignore that completely and just look at them and say, are they good enough? No, they're not. Now, I know that you have to, you know, you have to spend money on unproven players at times to see whether you can develop them. Mm-hmm. But the point is that we've gone out and bought these players and we haven't got the manager, we haven't got the coaching set up to nurture these guys. Now, if they thought that Poch was going to be that person, then so far he isn't. Now, I'm not saying he won't be, and I'm not saying that, you know, the beginning of next season that Mudryk and Madueke aren't going to be the Robin and Duff thing. But the point is that it doesn't matter what we've spent in terms of finances. What matters is whether we've improved the squad, and we just haven't. You look at Disasi, you look at Badashil. You know, where have they improved the squad? They haven't. And that is my huge bugbear with all of this.
No, well, it's understandable, and I mean, just to prove your point, Clayton, because we're going to talk about the Everton match on Monday, as we all know. We have an incredibly good record at home against Everton. To wit, we haven't lost at home to Everton since 1994. And if I read you the 1994 lineup, it'll be interesting to hear what you think. But it was Dimitri Karin,
yeah,
Jakob Kjellberg,
yeah,
Frank Sinclair, Anthony Barnes, Scott Minto, Craig Burley, Eddie Newton, Gavin Peacock, an aging Nigel Spackman, Dennis Wise, John Spencer.
Yeah.
Now, that, I mean, to be brutal, that's not a very good team. You know, I mean, out of that, Dennis Wise is the only player really who you could say, yeah, he was a great Chelsea player. Eddie maybe, but the others would.
Scott Minto was quite good.
Yeah, Spencer. But I mean, Johnny Spencer, yeah, but I mean, you know, nothing compared to what we've had for the last 20 odd years.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I agree. But yeah, no. Listen, it has been worse. It's been a lot worse. And we've been to Wembley this season and we got another cup semi-final. So it seems churlish to sort of moan about where we are at the moment. But it's what we've squandered. It's what we've done. And you know, talking about
all they had to do was to have a mix of some of these young talents that they decided to go and splurge lots of money on, and some experienced players that they could learn from.
Exactly that. You look at somebody like James Maddison,
yeah,
who went to Spurs. You look
James
at
Ward-Prowse,
James Ward-Prowse, exactly, and what those players could have done with these kids around them. It's just negligent.
Well,
it really is.
I'm glad we've allowed you a platform to have your moan what you promised me, and I hope it was cathartic. Right, let's focus on Monday. I think the first thing that occurs to me, which of course actually occurred to us even as long ago as last weekend, JK, was the fact that Everton have had another 2 points reduction thanks to failing the PSR. And I remember we said it last week. Oh, brilliant. We'll have to play them on the back of that. They'll be well revved up for that, which, of course, they will be.
Yeah.
So I'd like to conflate that, the fact that they'll be revved up because of the injustice. There's nothing a Scouser likes more than a bit of injustice. And, of course, the Sean Dyche effect, because, you know, he's a wily old bugger. I mean, I know that their results don't bear that out. I mean, you know, they they beat Burnley 1-0 last weekend. They did draw away to Newcastle, but Newcastle are injury ravaged and have really gone off the boil. And before that, they lost to Bournemouth away, Man United away, and West Ham at home. So, if they hadn't had the points reductions, they'd have been, 8 points better off? Which means, let me just kind of whiz down here and I'll tell you where they would have been. Whoops, I've gone too far. Where's my Premier League table gone? Here we go. Yeah, right. They're on 27 at the moment. If you give them another 8 points, they'd have 35 points. So they'd actually be in 14th. But with quite a healthy lead over those who are below them. But now they're relegation threatened as well. I just think it's a bit of a concern that them being revved up, Deitch, I can see 10, 11 men behind the ball coming up on Monday.
Well, you certainly know they're going to scrap for it, aren't they? Because that's what Deitch
and they're physical
gets them to do. They're very physical indeed. They've got some decent players. Tarkovsky's very good. Well, rustic but good. Very competitive.
Rustic. It's a good word.
Yeah, and
agricultural.
Very, very. Yes. Bucolic. One might
like
even say.
Yeah.
Have I gone a step too far by using bucolic? Probably.
That's a bit positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're sounding a bit like Poch now.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, that would be positive and balanced. There'd be a balanced side. But I take an example of the game which we lost 2-0 up at Goodison, where we didn't come out as usual with enough eagerness. We didn't come out with enough energy. We pitched the ball about all over the place. Had masses of possession. Didn't shoot. I mean, it's like it's the record of the whole season, isn't it? It's the it says he having another coughing fit. It's the inability to look as if they're actually interested, and they're only interested in the higher profile games, and he's having difficulty with it. He mentions it in the press conferences. So it's not a question of which team will turn up during the week, because we know which team will turn up. It'll be the same team that played against the same attitude that played against Burnley and Sheffield United, which is possession, lack of energy getting the ball back, and
or forward.
Well, I think he's correct in saying they've got enough players to make it work up front. It's just a question of relying so hugely on Palmer that I think if we've established, if you take away all his assists and goals, we'd probably be in the bottom 5. But no, I'm expecting a dour struggle, and if we don't raise our game to the kind of level we had against United, which is so unlikely that we will, because they just I don't know whether it's an attitude that they just think this team is below us, we're better than them. I don't know, they're incapable. You can always tell now at the beginning of the game, if they come out and they just pass the ball about slowly, we know that they're not going to be as committed as they should be. And they go a goal behind and a bit more of an effort's made. You think, well, why didn't we show it earlier? And they come out for the second half with no energy at all. And the opposition score. And then they suddenly come back and actually look as if they're going to score again. So what this has to do with the manager, I don't think it has anything to do with the manager. I think manager just lets them get out there and they just then, I don't know what it is. You think that he would, at halftime in particular, he would get in their heads and say, you have to start off the second half making an effort. But they don't. They just sit back, or they don't compete. They don't run after the ball enough. I'm at a complete loss as to
their running stats are appalling, by the way, aren't they?
I'm sure they are. They are.
No, I read that.
Against Everton, if you remember in the away game, they scored. Sanchez had a bit of a nightmare. And they scored a couple of goals late on. Who was the boy who scored? Dobbin, the only footballer named after a horse.
Last seen in the Harry Potter series, of course.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But wasn't that
Dobby?
He was Dobby, wasn't he? Yeah, little Dobby. Yeah,
Dobbin's a horse, isn't it?
That's what I just said. I said the only footballer named after a horse.
That's right. I was listening, honestly.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chidge. But yeah, sorry, I've waffled on not too much.
No. I love hearing you waffle
over and over again about not enough effort, and who knows.
I love hearing your drivel and pointless analysis. I'd much rather listen to...
But I'm the dapper man.
I know.
DAPA, drivel and pointless analysis.
I would pay money to listen to this. Listen, you picked up on something, which is, of course, that Everton beat us 2-0 up there back in whenever it was. If they beat us on Monday, that will be the first league double over Chelsea since 1978-79, when both of you had hair, no doubt, and were there to witness it, I would imagine.
Stop making that kind of reference, Chidge. I have, sufficient hair. I have sufficient hair to cover bits of my head up. I'm not going to be critical of you.
Tramp is in. Tramp is in.
Yeah.
Clayton, it would be horrible to lose there. I mean, do you know what worries me? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of things to worry you, but we haven't lost against them since 1994 at home. We've won 15, drawn 13. No top flight side has ever conceded 2 goals and scored 2 goals in 8 consecutive matches before. What's the chances of them doing it again? Certainly conceding 2. I mean, Poch was right in his presser, Clayton. We have been unbeaten for a while. It's our longest unbeaten Premier League run of the campaign. So that is a fact. And we are still 5 points off the top 6 with a game in hand on United in 6th. I mean, what annoyed me most when I spoke about all this on Monday was the fact that with an opportunity to really start and have a march on trying to get into Europe, they blew it at the first opportunity against the team that are going to get relegated, that they should have dubbed, and everybody else has. We should be going into this game on Monday with the record that we've got against Everton, which I shall remind you of. I mean, here we go. In the Premier League at home, we've won 17 of them, we've drawn 13 and only lost 1. We've had some superb performances against them, but recently a 2-2 draw and a 1-1 draw the last time we played them. But we should be going into this match expecting to really, crush them. And yet I think all of us are sitting here going, a bit worried, draw, Everton might even nick a win. It's madness, I tell you, Clayton. Madness.
It is, but that's where we are. You can't depend on this team to do anything in particular. If you think about it, we haven't had a consistently good 90 minutes. You hit the nail on the head, or JK did, when you're basically saying we go out there 20 minutes, absolutely boss it, and then we just fall apart for 20 minutes. Half time, we basically all have a sleep and cocoa and whatever, and come out completely comatose for 10-15 minutes, let in a goal, stuff up, and then go, oh, actually we need to do something about this. Now, the one good thing about this side is they've got a huge amount of spirit, because they do actually get back from a situation entirely of their own making. In answer to your original question, I think the chances of Everton scoring 2 goals is sort of nil.
Well, I can assist you there. Everton have only scored more than once in one of their last 14 Premier League games, which hilariously enough
they can't score goals. I mean, as opposed to us, where we create a lot but don't score the goals, they don't create very much because they are a Daesh team. Now, I'm very sorry that you haven't got an opposition view, because I've never ever spoken to anybody who supports a club who's managed by him. Now, I think he's a great manager. I think he does an exceptional job. But you couldn't pay me to watch his teams play because they are dour. They're basically completely committed to defending. They've got no ambition. And okay, where they are, the squad they've got, absolutely fine. He did a brilliant job at Burnley, and he's doing a very good job there. You look at how many they've let in 10 less goals than we have, and this is a team on the verge of relegation. He organises teams brilliantly, and these are the sort of teams that we find really difficult to play. And it's not just now; it's been for years. As you say, the last couple of times that we've played them, we've drawn with them. I mean, I don't know if you remember. And I can't remember.
At home we have. But
yeah,
I mean, the interesting. Sorry, Clayton. The other interesting thing is, yes, the last couple of games at home we have drawn against them, but actually the last few games, if I go back, last December, we lost 2-0 up there. We drew 2-2 with them at home. Before that, we beat them 1-0 up there. and then we lost 1-0 up there in 2022, and we drew 1-1 at home in 21. So there have been very few goals in this either way, actually, apart from the 2-2.
I mean, the 1-1 draw at home, I don't know if you actually remember, but I can't remember whether it was a COVID game.
21, December 21, possibly.
Yeah, because basically this was Benitez was their manager. They had literally no players. Pickford, as always, turned into Gordon Banks, which he always does against us. And I think we scored with about 20 minutes to go. I think Mount scored, and then they equalised with literally the last kick. I think it was Braithwaite scored. And that was, and this was against a team. I think Tommy Tuchel might have been the manager. And this was a team that had literally about 2 or 3 first-team players. They know how to play against us. They know how to play against us at home, and it works. So we've got to be clever. Now, whether we have got the players to be clever, I don't know. We've obviously got Cole Palmer, who is an amazing, amazing player, and he may be the difference for us this time. Somebody who can basically find a bit of a hole that others may not be able to find. I don't know. I hope so. I am, as I said earlier, concerned about the sort of physicality and the fact that we're quite a small team. We'll just have to see how we go about it. But if you look at Everton's season, I don't think they've been gubbed by anybody. If they've lost, it's just by the odd goal. They're
tough nut to crack.
They're a very, very difficult side to break down.
They will score 2 against us because everybody scores 2 against us.
It'll be a record, JK, if they do.
But it should be 2-2 then, shouldn't it? Like all these other games. It should.
Do you know what? Going back to that match, I've just called it up, Clayton, the 1-1. You're right. It was Tuchel and Benitez. Mount scored on 70 minutes, Braithwaite on 74. Do you know what's interesting about this, JK? Chelsea equalled their club record of 27 consecutive home league games without defeat against the same opponent. See also Tottenham Hotspur from 1990 to 2016. Mm-hmm. So, we used to go on and on and on, didn't we? Like a bog roll about the hex we had over Spurs. But actually, Everton are in the same bracket very, very comfortably. And I mean, even after that 1-1, where is it now? Go back. Yeah. So we've extended that again with the 2-2. So, we dare not lose because if we remain unbeaten against them on Monday, that record will have been it'll be longer than the one we had against Spurs, which it already is, but it'll be even longer if you see what I mean.
Well, the way this team play, though, we're not likely to lose, though, are we? We'll desperately score in the last minute if we're 2-1 down, or if we're 2-1 up, we'll let them score because we seem to be quite capable of evening it up at the moment. That's just the way it goes, isn't it? It'll be if we're in the lead, we take the pressure off. If they're in the lead, we go for it.
Do you know what?
Yeah, what?
It's got 1-1 written all over it, isn't it?
All I know, yeah, 1-1. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Written all over it, mate. Written all over it. I think that's kind of where. It's a corner. It's kind of where we're heading, isn't it? I've got a bad feeling about this, and we should beat them. We should do them 2-0, 3-1, easy. But it's becoming impossible to predict Chelsea at the moment, apart from the fact they concede 2 goals every match, Clayton.
Yeah, this game is we all know what's going to happen in this game. I'm not saying that we're not going to win it, but we know it's going to be a tough old watch. And it's going to be fairly dour. So it's one of those games, isn't it, where the team have to lift the crowd because Monday night, I think that had we got those 4 points against Burnley and Sheffield United, and we were basically sitting in 7th instead of West Ham, I think the team and the crowd would be far more up for it. I really do. And I think that would have helped us a huge amount as well. Don't know. We'll see. I mean, that is the one thing. I mean, God bless Mark Worrell for, what was he? Glorious unpredictability is what he copyrighted. And that's exactly us, isn't it? We do the exact opposite of what you think you're going to do. Although I suspect a lot of us after the Man U game knew that we weren't going to win at Sheffield United, because that's just us, and it doesn't matter how bloody brilliant we've been over the decades. We're always capable of that. And I always go back to the wonderful night at the San Siro, where Dennis Wise scored that very good goal. Came home, played against Watford away on the Saturday, the bottom team Watford, who I think barely mustered a victory that season, and we lost.
Yeah,
that's Chelsea. Chelsea.
I
have a question. Diane, the lovely Diane, says that she's annoyed she didn't get her notification. What's her notification?
I'm supposed to go round there dressed as a butler with a place card and a glass of champagne saying, Diane will be on air at 7:30.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why she didn't get a notification. I'm not a mind reader or a technological expert. But
you have a picture of you dressed as a flunky. You send her. Is that normally what happens?
I should do that, shouldn't I? Diane, I love you to pieces. I'm sorry you didn't get notified. Why don't you just WhatsApp me and say, Chidge, are you on air tonight? And I'll go, yes. There you go.
Chidge, we're nearly always on air, aren't we? We're not on air on Tuesday because of the Monday game. But
I'm getting to that. But exactly. All right. Stick your colours to the mast, you lovely lot. JK, what are you saying?
2-2.
Hey. Yeah. I fancy a bit of a Desmond as well, mate. Yeah. 2-2 and all. 2-2 and all. Clayton.
Seeing as I've been such a miserable scrote, I'm going to basically say 2-1 to us.
Here we go. That's on the Prem Predictions League. Everybody knows that's the cop-out prediction.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a safe bet. It's a safe bet. You kind of think, well, this team's slightly better than that one, but I have no idea what's going to happen, so I'm going to go 2-1. That's what everybody.
I actually think there's a very good chance this could be a 0-0. I mean, that's
nobody ever predicts a 0-0 ever.
Okay, well, I'll have both of them then.
I'm going to go 2-2 because I just think Chelsea have got this remarkable record of breaking unwanted records at the moment. And as we said, if they concede and score 2 in this one, they'll be the first team. No top flight side has ever done so in 8 consecutive games before. So I think it's nailed on. This is a lovely stat. One more assist would see Cole Palmer become the first Chelsea player to register double figures for both goals, 16, and assists, 9, in his first Premier League season with the club. Wouldn't that be lovely if he did that? He has been the only bright spot on this season, hasn't he, JK? Don't just love him.
Yeah, and he didn't start him straight away, did he? He brought him on in increments as well.
I know.
They said his statistics are better than Eden Hazard's in Eden Hazard's first season for us.
They are. They're one of the best in the league of all time. I think he was in 3rd place the last time I looked.
It's really funny, actually. I'd like to know what Manchester City fans think. Now, I know that ultimately they don't need him, but you'd have to think they're pretty peed off that they let him go.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you come back next Friday, you can ask one.
Okay.
Because David will be on because we're going to preview the cup semi-final.
Okay. Well, you can ask him in my absence here. Where
are you off to then?
I don't know.
You're making yourself unavailable for selection.
I can't. Hold on a sec. You talk amongst yourselves, and I'll have a look at my diary. I'll have a look at my diary to see if I'm available. But
don't worry. I have to. In fairness, Clayton, I haven't even done the schedule yet because I've forgotten. So I need to do that this weekend. All right. So we're going 2-2, 2-2, 2-1. 2-2, 2-1, JK.
2-2, Judge.
Right. Okay. It's time to cheer ourselves up, or at least cheer myself up, because do you know what it's time for, JK?
Is it they played for both, Chidge?
It is. They played for both, JK.
They played for both. Yay!
Both. Right. You ready?
All right.
27 players have represented both Chelsea and Everton during their careers, and they are
Bobby Stewart.
Yes.
Duncan McKenzie.
Yes.
Dave Besant.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's a standard for he played for both. Dave Besant.
Turnbull.
Okay, so I'll go. When you say Bobby Stewart, do you mean
Graham
Graham
Stewart.
Stewart. He was
Right.
known as Bobby.
Ross Barkley?
Yes.
Derek Kevin.
No.
That's my other go-to. We're not doing well. We just got 3 now. That's all we've done.
And there's loads on here you should get. And you've also done this before, JK.
I know, but I have the memory of a goldfish.
Indeed.
So, memory of a carp.
There are 2 goalkeepers on here at least.
Sullivan.
No.
Peyton.
Yes. 3 goalkeepers.
Osnich?
No.
Pat Nevin, who's not
Yes.
a goalkeeper.
It'd be funny if we'd have put him in goal, though, wouldn't it?
I suspect he basically would have missed a lot.
He might well have done.
Okay, come on.
One of these goalkeepers is still currently playing for somebody. I can't remember whom.
Currently still playing. Okay. I've got a picture in my head, and I don't know whether it's because he looked good in blue. But did Gary Stanley play for Everton?
He did, Clayton.
Well done.
Good shout.
And Mickey Thomas.
Well done. He's on a roll.
Lukaku, of course, played.
Well
didn't
done. Lukaku, yes.
Yes.
2 more strikers that you should know who are fairly recent. 3 more strikers. One not so recent, but one that you'll know. We mentioned him earlier on, in fact.
Ooh.
No Googling. Okay. This guy.
Mark Hughes.
Oh, I was about to give you a clue. This guy could have been an electrician, I was going to say, but you beat me to it.
Oh, because he's sparky. Chidge, you're on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I would be if I was a spark. Anyway.
When you say we mentioned him earlier, was he in that 1994 team?
He might have been. Yes, he was. And he was a striker.
I had John Spencer.
Yeah.
He played for Everton.
He did.
Did he go there? I didn't know that.
He did. Okay. This keeper, I think he might have played for Stoke as well.
Not Perry Digweed.
No, recent. He's still playing now. Have a think about it.
Oh, yeah. The Serbian, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Begovic.
Yes.
Begovic. Yes, indeed.
Well done.
When did he go to Everton?
I don't know. Anyway, this keeper, I think he was a keeper anyway, JK, would have given us peace in our time.
I don't think Chamberlain ever made a first team appearance for us.
He's on the list, mate.
He's on the list.
His name is on the list.
I really.
This
player hates cats, and has a brother called Bert. Think about it, JK.
Oh, of course, it plays for West Ham. It's what's his face?
Zuma.
Yeah,
that's the one. Right, now there's one more on here that you. Oh no, there's 2. This striker very famously had a dose of salts playing for us recently. His name is like an echo.
Dose of salt.
Oh, Samuel Eto'o.
Yes, JK. I can see the cogs working in your head.
When did he play for Everton?
I don't know either. Now, this one was he didn't play. Well, he did play in some pre-season. He very tragically died a year ago. just over a year ago. Played for Middlesbrough as well. It's a very religious-sounding first name.
Oh, Atsu.
Very good, Christian Atsu. Right, the last one.
Hang on. Did Mickey Thomas play?
Yeah, you said Mickey Thomas.
No, I didn't.
said Mickey Thomas.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you played it.
All right.
Right, this chap. I think he was a winger for us. He feels quite good.
Oh, Terry Phelan. Oh, God.
Lovely. Right, you won't get the rest, so I'll just help you out.
Did Jack Cock play for them?
Oh, JK! You absolute legend. I was about to presume you wouldn't know.
No, because we suddenly went in. Jack Cock appears to play for everybody. So
all right, well, so did this guy, very famous footballer. We had him on last week, I think. Who did we play last week? Sheffield United.
Oh, Tommy Lawton. Did Tommy Lawton play for them?
Tommy Lawton. Well done. This
About
guy.
Huey Gallagher.
No. This guy, we actually had a whip round for.
Was he one of the guys in West Brompton Cemetery?
Yeah.
Was he the grave that we went to the other week? The first one?
He was.
I shamefully can't remember his name.
Okay. Jack Whitley.
Jack Whitley.
Okay, I think you'll definitely not know any of the others. So they are. Well, actually, I'll just read through because Nathan's very kindly given us some information about the players that we might not readily know.
Did Johnny Spencer go to Everton after Chelsea? Then?
I do not know.
You do not know. Okay.
I do not know.
Johnny Spencer, we've mentioned John Spencer, and we said that, yes, he played for both, and then we said we can't remember him going there.
No.
I suddenly got worried that I couldn't remember him going there. Yeah.
Right, are you ready? Christian Atsu played in 3 pre-season friendlies in 2016, tragically killed in the Turkish earthquake in March 2023. Benjamin Baker, 1921 to 25, goalkeeper, 93 appearances, 36 clean sheets, 1 goal. This guy comes around a lot. The only goalkeeper to have scored a competitive goal for Chelsea, a penalty versus Bradford City on the 19th of November, 1921. He had 2 England international caps and represented Great Britain in athletics in the 1912 and 1920 Olympics. And he held the British high jump record between 1921 and 1946. Love him. Jack Kerwin, 1905 to 1907, 75 appearances, 16 goals, Ireland international, 1900 to 1909, 17 caps, 2 goals. Bobby Laverick, 1957, 7 appearances. Tommy Lawton played for us between 46 and 47, 53 appearances, 35 goals. That's not a bad ratio, is it?
Didn't he play for Brentford as well, Lawton?
He may have done. England international between 1938 and 48, 23 caps. Criminal that he had so few caps because of the war, isn't it? He left us for 3rd Division Notts County and continued to play for England. His ashes are held by the National Football Museum. Great player. Tommy McDermott, 1905 to 6, 33 appearances, 12 goals. Roy McDonough, a reserve, 1980 to 81. The record holder, oh God almighty, there was a picture of him on X the other day. Roy McDonough, who was a reserve, 1980 to 81, the record holder for the most red cards in a career, 22.
Top man.
My kind of player. How did I not know that? Jackie Robertson, 1905 to 06, 38 appearances, 7 goals. Chelsea's first manager. He had a win percentage of 61.11%. That's pretty good, isn't it? Scotland international, 1898 to 1905, 16 appearances, 3 goals. Fred Rouse, 1907 to 09, 42 appearances, 11 goals. Jack Whitley, 1907 to 14, goalkeeper, 138 appearances, 39 clean sheets. And Fred Wolfe, 1905, 1 appearance. So there we go. Thank you to the lovely Paul Carter and his website, Stamford-bridge.com. Paul's also on X, at Stamford_bridge. And, of course, check out the wonderful Chelsea Heritage Group, who are chelseaheritagepartnership.com at CFC_heritage. And Nathan, by the way, thank you for your input on this, as always. He's the one that gives us all the other information about the players. But he also provided the backdrop for JK's news press summary.
Yes, thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you.
So there you have it. Right, you lovely people. I'm afraid that is about all we have time for this week. JK and I, and maybe Clayton, will be back next. We'll be back next Friday at 7:30. Now, this is complicated, okay? Because there will not be an immediate review show after the Everton game. The Everton game is on Monday night. On Tuesday, I work until 8, and I'm just too done in to do a show, so it ain't happening. Wednesday night, I'm out, and Thursday's kind of, what's the point? We might as well wait till Friday. So we will be reviewing the Everton match next Friday in our preview show. Confused? You should be. Because we're also going to be looking ahead, of course, to the FA Cup semi-final against Man City. So there you go. There is an In Off the Post, which would have reached your ear holes late last night. We did our kind of monthly In Off the Post show. It's becoming monthly. Enjoyed your emails. Love reading them. If you want to send them in, and we'll do another show in a few weeks' time, the email address is chelseafancast@gmail.com. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Chelsea Fancast. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and you will help support the Chelsea Fancast. So there you go. Clayton, absolutely delightful having you on the show, as always, my friend.
Really enjoyed it. Got a lot off my chest.
Good.
And hopefully see you on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I intend to get to the Cock good and early on
Cockage.
Yes, I intend. Well, I won't be drinking much because obviously I've got to drive, but I will definitely be in the Cock good and early. So I'll pop to the stall first, then pop into the Cock and distribute the T-shirts to you lovely fancasters, all of those who have ordered one. But yeah, hopefully see you on Monday, Clay. It'd be lovely to see you in the flesh, as it were. JK, you and I, 2 nights consecutively. People will talk. Let them, I say. Let them. Yes.
Let them.
Lovely to see you as always.
Tittle tattle.
Aye. I mean,
so what? You don't like facial hair? So what?
Tramp is in.
Tramp is in. It's a story, Clayton. I told it last night. I saw my agent who didn't recognize me, and he looked at me and went, "Oh my God, you must get some pictures done immediately." He said, "Tramp is in." He said.
He's been inundated with offers for work, mate. It's unbelievable. That, by the way, you can actually buy, because I haven't uploaded the YouTube version of In Off the Post yet, but I will do so over the weekend, give you a bit of something to watch before the game on Monday.
Very good emails. Very good. Much better than us. Much better.
Easily. Now, you can follow the show on all the social media at Chelsea Fancast, me at Stamford Chidge, Jonathan at Jonathan Kydd, and Clayton at Goalie 59. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. We will see you next week. Until then, keep it blue, keep it carefree, and keep it Chelsea.
Hey, the Chelsea!